Welcome to This Explainer. I am so incredibly excited to be your guide today. Finding our way through modern life can honestly feel like being dropped right into the middle of a massive, tangled wilderness, and you have absolutely zero compass. You wake up, you look at the 12 different paths you could take, and it's just so easy to feel completely overwhelmed by the whole shebang. But today, we're doing something different. We are going to reconstruct an ancient, metaphorical map. We're not just going to sit here and talk about purpose as some vague, floaty concept. Instead, we are going to explore exactly how specific, deeply personal themes, like your childhood instincts and even your everyday frustrations, actually act as practical, tangible tools to uncover what the brilliant author Robert Greene calls your life's task.
To really understand the absolute, incredibly high stakes of this journey we're on, we have to consider these words from Robert Greene. He says, "Your DNA has never occurred in the history of the universe. To waste that is the worst thing you can do." Just think about that for a second. If you go back billions of years and you look forward into an infinite future, your exact genetic makeup, combined with your very specific early life experiences, that is literally a one-time cosmic event. You are born a phenomenon. And that uniqueness, it's not just some feel-good motivational poster stuff, it is literally your ultimate source of power in this world. Tragically, failing to mine that uniqueness is the absolute greatest waste of human potential. So let's dive right in with a deeply introspective question. I want to ask you, what did you love at 5 years old? Now, I know, it sounds like such a simple, maybe even kind of silly question for an adult facing very real grown-up problems. But as you'll see, the deepest truths about exactly who you are and what you're biologically wired to do, they don't actually exist in your adult logic. Nope. They lie hidden deep in the ancient ruins of your early childhood, way before the world got its hands on you and started dictating what was cool or practical. To uncover all of this, we're going to hit 6 main stops in our explainer today. First, what is purpose? Second, childhood voices. Third, the noise of society. Fourth, the frustration compass. Fifth, the false and real sublime. And finally, the path to mastery. Let's get to it. Okay, starting with section 1. What is purpose? Or, as we're going to think of it, your internal radar.
So what even is purpose? It is definitely not just some boring, rigid commitment to a narrow job title. It's actually this incredible internal radar. When you finally uncover it, it concentrates your energy and gives you this profound sense of direction. Dr. Andrew Huberman uses this totally brilliant analogy. He says, imagine being an amphibian plopped into a totally new environment, but you don't actually know you're an amphibian. Right? If you spend your whole life trying to fly with the birds, you're not just going to fail, you are going to be miserable and exhausted. But when you find your purpose, it's like a light bulb goes off and you realize, I can go in and out of the water. You find your unique niche. You suddenly wake up genuinely excited, and when people come at you with irritating distractions, this radar lets you effortlessly cut them out so you can focus on your true path.
Moving right along to section 2, childhood voices. These are your impulse voices. Drawing on the work of the legendary psychologist Abraham Maslow, we really need to examine what he called our impulse voices. Picture yourself at 4 or 5 years old. You had these amazingly pure, visceral signals. You weren't sitting around overthinking or intellectualizing things. You just had these little internal nudges saying, I absolutely love doing this, or I really hate doing that. And this is crucial. This happens fundamentally before puberty. Any neurobiologist will tell you that puberty is the most profound transformation your brain will ever go through. Hormones start raging, and suddenly out of nowhere, you care deeply about how the rest of the world views you. So recognizing those pure prepubescent signals, that is the very first, incredibly vital tool in unearthing your true life's task. What's super interesting here is Howard Gardner's frames of mind. He shows us that intelligence isn't just about intellectual stuff. It's not just about getting straight A's in math. Your brain naturally follows a very specific grain. Think of it exactly like the grain in a piece of beautiful wood. Your brain might naturally veer toward words and language, or maybe kinetic and body intelligence, like you're a natural-born athlete. The trick is, you have to rub with that grain, not against it. Because rubbing with the grain is exactly where your ultimate power lies. And we can see this exact grain playing out in famous figures who tapped into their visceral connections early on. It proves that finding your purpose starts out as a deeply physical and emotional delight. For example, Robert Greene was so obsessed with words that as a kid, he'd literally just sit around spelling them backwards for fun just to see how they worked. Albert Einstein, at just 4 years old, was utterly mesmerized by a compass and the invisible magnetic forces moving the needle, which, let's be real, is pretty wild when most 4-year-olds are basically just trying not to eat dirt. And Andrew Huberman recalls feeling an actual physical sensation in his left arm, like a deep, visceral delight, just from observing flora, fauna, and the movement of animals.
Which brings us to Section 3, the noise of society. How we end up losing the map entirely.
This is the real tragedy right here. Let's look at how this builds up over time. At age 5, you've got those beautifully pure impulse voices, but by 14, peer pressure totally takes over. You just want to fit in. You just want to be cool. Then, by 21, you're picking college majors based on what's deemed practical, or honestly, just to appease your parents. And by 30, you enter the workforce completely and utterly lost at sea. The incredibly loud voices of teachers, parents, and social media basically act like an overgrown dark forest. They tangle up our path and completely drown out that inner voice. Understanding the societal noise is a massive tool for us, because actively learning to silence it is exactly how you carve your way back to your purpose.
So, on to Section 4, the frustration compass. How do we navigate the pain of being lost? When you're trapped in that dark forest of adulthood, your old map is long gone. You need a brand new navigational tool. And rather than running away from negative emotions, you actually need to use your frustration and anxiety as a compass. As Robert Greene so perfectly puts it, levels of frustration or anxiety are definite signals that you must pay attention to. They are telling you this isn't a good direction for you. See, frustration isn't just a bad mood. It is literally your biology acting as a tool. It's signaling that you are wandering way off your true path. From a neuroscience perspective, that agitation releases neurochemicals that basically scream at your brain, hey, something is wrong here, we need to change and rewire. If you hate your job and feel chronically anxious, please don't just numb it. That pain is a very real energetic push telling you to pivot and search for where you truly belong.
Now for Section 5, the false and real sublime. The absolute necessity of escaping our ego.
This right here is the great danger. If we ignore our internal compass, we fall into traps, because we are desperate to numb the feeling of being lost. As humans, we have this deep, innate need to experience the sublime, something that totally transcends the boring everyday grind. But when we're lost, we usually fall for the false sublime. We reach for quick external fixes, things like drugs, mindless shopping, getting into arguments online, or endless social media doom scrolling. We do it to instantly murder time and try to kill our anxiety. But it's a total illusion. It just leaves you feeling emptier. The true sublime, on the other hand, actually requires escaping the prison of your own ego. It's about achieving internal peaks, like entering those incredible flow states where you completely lose track of time because you're so deep into creating something. It's about transcending connections to nature, to history, and to profound love. The real sublime doesn't murder time, it elevates it.
And finally, Section 6, the path to mastery. Let's reconstruct your map.
So, knowing all of these themes, how do we actually reconstruct our map, unearth our treasure, and step fully into our power? Achieving mastery requires what Robert Greene calls an active archaeological dig. This is where all those themes we just talked about become your ultimate tool set. Step 1. You have got to intentionally disconnect from the endless noise and algorithms of modern social media so you can actually hear your own thoughts. Step 2. Carefully excavate the ancient bones of those childhood joys. Really remember what you loved at 5 years old. Step 3. Use your current career frustration not as this heavy burden, but as a highly practical compass to steer you away from dead ends. And Step 4. Merge those ancient past inclinations with the very real skills you've developed today. Oh, and a huge part of this? Finding mentors. Find people who embody the positive qualities you admire to act as surrogate guides on your personal path.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Are you ready to begin the active archaeological dig of your own life? Or are you going to let your totally unique, one-of-a-kind DNA remain buried under societal noise forever? The power you're looking for is literally already inside you. That grain, it's already right there in your brain. You just have to be brave enough to clear away the noise, embrace your vulnerabilities, and follow that compass. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Start digging, and I will see you on the next journey.